But here's the problem. If you've ever loved an avoidant partner, chances are you've been accepting a kind of love you never truly deserved and thinking it's normal. Have you ever asked yourself, why is it that someone who gives, who cares, who tries, keep being treated like a backup plan? Why do they disappear when I need them most? Why do they come back like nothing happened? And I open my heart like I've never been hurt. You're not weak. You're just hopeful. And avoidants are masters at playing with that hope. They don't hurt you with obvious blows. They hurt you through silence, neglect, and by making you question yourself. Maybe I'm too sensitive. Maybe they just fear intimacy. Maybe if I wait a little longer. This piece isn't about why avoidants are the way they are. It's about when you should stop and when their behavior is no longer just insecure attachment, but emotional damage you cannot afford to excuse. Because sometimes the most healing thing you can do is not to forgive, but to never let them back in again. Avoidant attachment doesn't mean someone is incapable of love. In fact, avoidance can love often deeply, but in a distorted, defensive, and calculated way. They love without ever fully opening their heart. They connect, then withdraw. They miss you, but they'll never say it. They hurt when you leave, but pretend nothing happened. That's the nature of a wounded attachment style. Craving connection, but fearing intimacy. And yes, with time, therapy, and the right safe relationship, avoidant attachment can be healed. They can learn to sit with emotion instead of running from it. They can learn to express needs instead of retreating. They can learn to love in a way that is present, honest, and responsible. But here's the truth. Not every avoidant wants to heal. Not every wounded person is kind. Not every person deserves a second chance. Some avoidants don't choose healing, they choose control. They don't choose honesty, they choose manipulation. They don't pull away because they're afraid, they pull away because they know you'll chase them. They don't go silent because they're overwhelmed, they go silent because they know that silence hurts you. At this point, it's no longer an insecure attachment style we should empathize with. It becomes a deliberate behavioral system, using their trauma as a license to destroy. And that is the boundary you must learn to recognize. Because from that moment on, you're not loving a wounded soul. You're standing next to someone dangerous, someone who uses pain to control love, twist emotions, and make you question your own instincts. And if you don't see it clearly, you'll blame yourself. You'll forgive the unforgivable. You'll call manipulation a personality trait. You'll stay thinking you're loving someone in need of healing, when in fact, you're slowly being eroded by someone who never intended to take responsibility in the first place. And this is where you need to look deeper at behavior, not words, not nostalgia, but actual behavior when the relationship broke down. Because real love isn't measured by late-night apologies or sweet texts. It's measured by how someone behaves when they think they have nothing left to gain from you. And one of the biggest, most glaring red flags you must stay alert to is this. They sought out someone else during your silence or breakup. It doesn't matter if it was a coffee date, a night at the bar, a flirtatious text, or even sleeping with someone else. Choosing to explore other people during your separation isn't harmless. It reveals who they are when you're no longer watching. While you're struggling with heartbreak, doubt, and hope, they're browsing the shelves, treating love as a replaceable product, not a sacred bond. You become one of many options. And if you don't meet their emotional needs fast enough, they'll try to find it elsewhere, yet still believe they have the right to walk back into your heart like nothing ever happened. They'll say things like, I was just trying to move on, or I needed to find myself. But the truth is, they were test driving replacements while keeping you as plan B. The brutal reality is, someone who genuinely regrets losing you doesn't have room in their heart to explore someone new. They'll hurt, be confused, but they'll sit in that emptiness and reflect. They won't be out chasing comfort while your door remains even half open. When an avoidant immediately seeks out someone else post-breakup, that's no longer a sign of fear of intimacy. It's a sign of a replacement mindset, a lack of commitment, and a disregard for real emotional connection. And if they return months later with remorse, you need to remember, they didn't lose you. They lost the control they once had over you. And now, They want it back. Don't confuse wanting you with wanting the power they used to have over you. Coming back after trying others isn't a sign of love. It's a sign of disrespect. And you are worth far more than that. And if their seeking someone else during your silence wasn't already enough of a reason to walk away, there's another behavior more subtle, but just as damaging. They minimize your emotions. When you voice your pain, your insecurity, your sense of abandonment, they don't listen. They don't apologize. They don't empathize. Instead, they respond with things like, "You're overreacting. I don't think it was that serious. You're making this a bigger deal than it is. That's not what I meant. You're too sensitive." And slowly, piece by piece, you start to doubt yourself. You begin thinking, maybe I really am overreacting. You suppress your emotions. You stay silent not because you've healed, but because you're afraid of being labeled too much. That's when the manipulation starts working like a finely tuned system. They hurt you, then make you erase your own pain. This is no longer about them being unaware. And this is emotional gaslighting, making you question your reality, your memory, and your instincts, leading to something far more dangerous. You stop trusting yourself. When someone comes back and instead of acknowledging how they hurt you, they downplay your pain, that's a glaring sign. They care more about protecting their ego than repairing the relationship. They don't apologize, they justify. They don't listen, they dismiss. They don't grow, they deflect. And if you stay, you'll learn to love in silence. Every time hurt happens, you'll think, maybe it's my fault. Not because it is, but because you've spent too long with someone who taught you your feelings don't matter. And after making you doubt your own feelings, the next move a toxic avoidant often makes when they return is this. They come back as if nothing ever happened. No mention of the pain, no accountability, no acknowledgement of the silence, the words they said, or the tears you swallowed alone. They just show up with a vague, "I know I wasn't perfect," or "I missed you," and they expect you to forget it all, as if you were just being dramatic. This is the kind of apology that says nothing specific, shows no real awareness, and certainly no proof that they understand what they put you through. And the reason they avoid discussing the past isn't because they want to focus on the future, like they claim. It's because they're terrified of facing their own responsibility. They don't want to revisit who they were when they left. Selfish, cold, or cowardly. They want you to hold on to the pretty parts and bury the pain. But here's what you must understand. Healing never happens without confrontation. A relationship cannot be rebuilt if you're forced to pretend that the hurt never existed. When they come back without a clear explanation, without a single sentence that names your pain, without a plan for change, they're not returning to love you. They're returning to erase their guilt by silencing yours. Don't let them do that. You don't need a vague apology. You need deep understanding, specific ownership, and real evidence that they're no longer the person who hurt you. Without that, their return is nothing but a pause before the next heartbreak, and just when you think you might finally be heard, acknowledged, and healed, they make you feel guilty for pressuring them. This is one of the most dangerous tactics of the toxic avoidant. They always play the victim. You say, "I felt hurt when you went silent for weeks." They reply, "I only went silent because you were suffocating me. You're too controlling." You say, "I feel lonely when you disappear emotionally." They respond, "I've been through so much with my ex. You have no idea how badly I've been hurt." Suddenly, your pain is no longer valid. You're no longer the wounded one. You've become their caretaker. You shift from being the one hurt to being the one expected to heal the person who caused that hurt. This is emotional manipulation at its most subtle. They use your empathy against you. They bring up their difficult childhood, their cheating ex, their deep emotional wounds, not to connect, but to deflect. And you, being compassionate, start to think, maybe I'm being too hard on them. Maybe I shouldn't have brought this up. Maybe they're the one who needs me to be more understanding. But here's the truth. Their pain does not excuse the pain they cause you. Their trauma doesn't make them innocent. Only their decision to heal does. When someone always finds a way to position themselves as the victim, misunderstood, pressured, betrayed, they're not building a relationship based on honesty. They're building one based on your guilt. And that's how imbalance takes root. One person always trying not to hurt the other. while the other avoids all accountability. Worse, they make you believe that your hurt is proof you lack compassion. They teach you that real love means unconditional acceptance while giving you zero space to ask for change. They lead you to empathy instead of conversation, forgiveness instead of growth, silence instead of boundaries. And the cruelest twist, they'll say that their silence, withdrawal, or coldness was because they loved you. I avoided you because I was afraid of losing you. I shut down because I didn't know how to face my emotions. I was cold because I've been hurt too much. But real love doesn't erode your sense of worth. It doesn't make you feel selfish for being sad. It doesn't ask you to sacrifice your voice for the comfort of someone who won't take ownership. So if you're in a relationship where they are always the victim, be careful. You're not loving someone who knows how to take responsibility. You're loving someone who uses their wounds to escape all consequences. And you are not obligated to stay and prove love exists, especially when the love you're clinging to is quietly destroying you. And if playing the victim was already a massive red flag, then this next behavior isn't just a warning, it's the final boundary. They have humiliated you. This is the deepest cut, the kind of harm that doesn't just hurt the relationship, but fractures your core self-worth. Whether it was done publicly or behind closed doors, when someone uses their words, tone, or behavior to make you feel small, stupid, or not enough, they're no longer a partner. They've become someone who actively damages your dignity. It might have looked like this: mocking your appearance in front of others, comparing you to an ex to make you feel inferior, revealing private details during an argument, using your past pain, something you once shared in trust, as ammunition. These aren't just slip-ups or heat-of-the-moment outbursts. They're signs of a deeper pattern, a desire to control, shame, and punish. A compassionate person, even when hurt, does not weaponize your self-respect. The most heartbreaking part? Many people defend those who humiliate them. They say, "He was just mad," or "She didn't mean it." But here's the truth. How someone treats you when they think they've lost you reveals exactly who they are. And if in that moment they choose to shame you, they've shown you their real character. No one deserves to stay in a relationship where even basic respect is gone, because love does not survive where dignity has been destroyed. And you do not have to forgive someone who laughed at the pain you trusted them to hold. If you've lived through all of this, the silence, the betrayal, the dismissal of your feelings, the manipulation, the blame shifting, and even the humiliation, then hear this: you are not too sensitive. You are a survivor, and you deserve far more than what you once settled for. Avoidant individuals aren't always toxic, but if they refuse to grow, take responsibility, or respect you, then they're no longer someone to help heal. They are someone you must outgrow. Love should never require you to trade your self-worth for moments of closeness. No one deserves a place in your life if they make you question your own value. If they left, let them go. And if they return carrying the same patterns, the same damage, the same ambiguity, be brave enough to not reopen a door that once left you begging to be let in. Moving on is not coldness. It is an act of self-respect. It is your declaration to yourself: I've learned all I needed from this pain. I don't need to learn it again. Return to yourself. Rebuild your trust in your own instincts. Healing on your own is hard, but staying with someone who won't heal with you, that's what truly breaks you day by day. You don't need anyone to give you worth. You are the living proof that your heart is still powerful, if only you choose to give it to the right place.